I've been given a great privilege in my life in that I was born in Canada. While I could probably spend an entire lifetime making videos just about how awesome that is, I do have one major gripe with the country. I hate winter. Along with the cold and darkness, I get what's called seasonal depression or seasonal affective disorder. Basically, I'm a summer boy who gets bummed out when it's not summer. And I'm not alone. According to recent mental health surveys, nearly 1 in 10 Canadians will experience seasonal affective disorder at some point in their lifetime. And over the last few years, I've been focusing on and putting a lot of effort into what I can do to defeat seasonal depression. At the age of 39, I think I figured it out. Welcome to the channel. I'm Jeff Turner, former peer support worker. Here are 6 things that I do and 6 lessons that I've learned from trying to defeat seasonal depression. I hate the idea of taking medication, and I think that's because when I was around 14, I was diagnosed with something called Crohn's disease. Basically, most of my late teenage years were spent trying out different drugs to try to induce remission. It sucked. But this year, I decided to give vitamin D and magnesium a try. And according to science, vitamin D is vital for brain function, as the brain contains vitamin D receptors that help regulate mood. While research shows a strong link between low vitamin D levels and increased symptoms of depression, studies on whether supplements directly cause happiness still remain mixed. Just keep that in mind moving forward. So what does this mean for me? Well, I have a body clock that follows the sun. And in the summer, I can have energy from the moment I get out of bed, which can be around 5 a.m. until the sun goes down, which is around 10 p.m. But for about 4 or 5 months in the winter, the sun might come up around 8 a.m. and then sometimes it sets seemingly at 4 p.m. Meaning in the winter, I don't see a lot of the sun. When I started taking vitamins, I noticed that the sun in the winter was the same, but my energy levels were closer to that of how I would feel in the summer. And typically when my energy is low, I have a hard time doing the second thing that I learned. With not a ton of sun in my life, I tend to go into a form of hibernation. While there's absolutely nothing wrong with this, I actually have a ton of friends who say that they love this hibernation in the winter and it's what makes them enjoy winter even more. For me personally, it doesn't quite work like that. I'm most productive in the mornings, and it's not just about work. The morning is when I do most of my self-care on any given week. Be it journaling, tracking, meditating, honestly, whatever I want to do for myself. But when I feel like I don't have the energy, I tend to just lay in bed and sometimes for hours. And even though I know it's not the case, this makes me feel lazy. And when I feel lazy, I stop taking care of myself and I end up falling into what I have deemed a shame spiral. Simply put, when I feel lazy, I stay in bed. When I stay in bed, I feel lazy. And on and on and on and on it goes. Before I know it, a few days of this turns into weeks of this, just keeps piling on and on and on, and eventually I just fall into the habit of laying in bed, staying in bed, and not wanting to get out of bed. So to combat this, I did something that actually blew my mind. And it didn't blow my mind because it's this big, vast secret. It blew my mind because of how simple it was to do. I set my alarm for the next morning, then put my phone outside of the room, far away from my bed. Now this achieved 2 primary goals. One, I didn't doom scroll as much. So I didn't doom scroll when I would get into bed at night, and I wouldn't doom scroll as much in the morning. Because the second thing is I had to get out of bed to go turn off my phone. And full disclosure, there were times where I would get out of bed, grab my phone, crawl back into bed, and stay into bed. But for the most part, the entire experience would end up kicking off my morning. I was already up and out of bed. And I figured if that small little shift would work for bed rot, would it work for something else that I neglect in the winter? Camping, fishing, hiking, river floats, or even just standing there. I love being outside. Like I mentioned earlier, Canada has the benefits of being outside in spades. So you can imagine how I feel when I see 6 inches of snow on the ground outside and the temperature is nearing minus 30 degrees. I'm talking Celsius, that's minus 22 degrees Fahrenheit about for all my American friends out there. So this year I made it a point to go outside, and not just when the Chinooks are happening when the weather is warm, but also when the temperature is in the minuses. And what I found most interesting about this is it never really got easier. Bundling up sucked, trudging through the snow sucked, being cold sucked. But what it did do was exercise my resiliency muscle. There's actually a part of the brain called the anterior mid-cingulate cortex. Scientists have found that when people do things that they don't want to do, like stepping out into the freezing cold, this part of their brain actually grows physically larger. It grows like a muscle. But like a muscle, the catch is, if you stop using this part of your brain, it shrinks. And it's the part of your brain that's closely tied to being resilient. So hard things happen, this muscle gets stronger, it builds your resilience so that when more hard things happen, you can face it easier. So even though bundling up and going outside sucked, it wasn't really just about going outside and walking in the snow. I was actually weightlifting for my brain. And speaking of weightlifting, for me in the cold winter months, it's really easy to pick up bad habits or habits that don't serve me or habits that even cause some sort of negative effect to me. So this winter, I tried to get what I would consider to be a positive habit. And the habit that I chose was going to the gym. And my logic behind this was I figured that I could kind of knock off two birds with one stone. First, I figured if I could get out of bed, that would be a win. And if I could get to the gym, it would be great for my physical and my mental health. And as it turns out, I was right. But there's a lesson that I learned that is a little less obvious, and it's why I chose my words wisely from going to the gym versus working out. I learned that when I would plan to work out, I would end up overstimulating myself. Let me know if you've heard this before. You make a goal to work out, you buy the outfit, gym pass, YouTube some workout videos, make a schedule, and you begin. And for a week or two, you stay consistent, maybe even putting in a little more time and energy than you had originally expected. But then something in your life happens and you miss a day. No big deal until you miss 2 days, then 3 days, then 4 days. And eventually restarting and going back to the gym or doing that habit that you were trying to do seems way harder than just quitting. This used to happen to me all the time for just about everything. The pressure that I would put on myself to be consistent and to do things perfectly was always so big. And if I couldn't meet that expectation, it was just easier to stop and not do it than it was to start again. So I changed my mindset. If I could just go to the gym with no expectation, no counting sets, reps, minutes on a treadmill, if I could just show up, then the likelihood of me doing any type of activity would increase. And if I didn't, no big deal. I already won. I reached my goal. I made it to the gym. No shame, no guilt. Plus, I ended up making some friends, so when I would go, I would see them and I would hang out a little bit longer. We'd swap exercises, and without really realizing it, I was building a community.
Gratitude to me is like a cheat code. It's really difficult and hard for me to even add it to this list because I complain so much in the winter. Nothing seems to be going my way. Even when things are good, they're never good enough because it's too cold or too snowy or too icy or whatever. And oftentimes, to tell you the truth, I have to dig really deep and try really, really hard to find gratitude. I have an entire journal that is just dedicated to gratitude journaling. In the throes of winter, I try to gratitude in it 2 times, once in the morning and once before I go to bed. But what I notice is gratitude kind of shows me the truth. So say it's minus 20, minus 25 outside and it's snowing. I can't go fishing or I'm bummed out because I've got to go, just brush off my car if I want to go anywhere. But when I think about how lucky I am that I have a roof over my head, that I have comfortable socks that I get to wear, that I have journals, that I have a cognitive ability to write in my journal, that I have a car that I can get into that is warm, that keeps me safe, I have winter tires on. All of these feelings and all of these emotions, they don't make winter easier, but they do show me a life that is honestly quite privileged. And the more and more things that I notice that I'm grateful for, the more and more gratitude that I have. And the more gratitude that I have, the more responsibility I feel as though I possess. So for example, it may be cold, but I have the responsibility of staying warm. I may want to do my work on a patio in the throes of July, but I can't. So can I still get my work done? Yeah, I can get it done comfortably in my house, not freezing. Gratitude is a cheat code. It's got to be one of my favorite things to do.
Now, I'm not actually going to spend a ton of time here because I don't know exactly what to say. But I definitely want to share this experience because if there were one thing that I could say that carried the most weight in supporting me with my seasonal depression, it's getting connected. As I mentioned, a lot of the things that I do in the summer, well, they're easier, so it's really easy to invite people to come along. With the cold and the snow and the level of effort it takes to do things in the winter, those easy hangs, they become not so easy. And the thing that I notice the most is I'm the type of person who just really doesn't make the effort. So this winter, I did. Now, a lot of my friends live elsewhere or they have children and families, so admittedly, I'm not really the catalyst for the hangout. But what I did do was say yes to almost everything that I was invited to. Every board game night, every hockey game, every football game, every family dinner, I just said yes to all of it. And yeah, during the Hangouts, I felt way better. But the thing that was really cool was I found that feeling kind of carried through the week. So it rather gave me something to get excited for building up to the week, or it gave me something to tell people when they said, "Hey Jeff, how was your weekend? What did you do?" And it gave me the most valuable lesson that I learned through this whole experience of trying to defeat seasonal depression. If you have to do something that sucks, it's better not to have to do it alone. And there you have it. There are 6 things I do and 6 things I've learned to defeating seasonal depression. Thank you so much for checking out this video. I really hope you liked it. Before I go, I just want to say everything in this video is from my own lived and living experience. And just because it worked for me, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to work for you. Just keep that in mind if you're dealing with seasonal affective disorder or any other kind of mental health related thing in your life. If you like this video, then you're probably going to like at least one of the 2 other videos that you see pop up on the screen. Just click one, check it out. I'll see you there. And I'm Jeff Turner. Remember to take care of yourself however that looks to you.